This is the story of Pastor Jeremiah Wells, a young, black, God-fearing man who answered the call, not just to preach but to shepherd a flock that would soon face a spiritual storm like no other. He was only 28 when he and his radiant wife, Danielle, stepped into the pulpit of what would become Living Waters Tabernacle, a small, non-denominational church tucked away in a quiet southern town. The walls were worn, the pews mostly empty, but their faith unshakable. And when faith meets obedience, miracles begin to move. By the end of their first year, the church went from 12 members to 100. Children's ministries bloomed, prayer nights stretched into dawn, baptisms happened every Sunday. The community was alive with hope, and God's Spirit moved freely. Danielle led the women's fellowship. Jeremiah preached the word with fire and grace. They were admired, even envied. But behind the claps and amens, eyes were watching. Jealous eyes, hateful eyes, hidden eyes. In the shadows of that very sanctuary sat a hidden group. Not just doubters, witches. A secret coven, cloaked in religious tradition, wrapped in church dresses, and armed not with Bibles, but with curses. They weren't just sitting on pews. They were planting seeds, seeds of discord, seeds of gossip, seeds of silent sabotage. It started subtly. The worship leader lost her voice permanently one Sunday. The sound system malfunctioned every time the name Jesus was spoken. Members began having vivid demonic dreams. A baby dedication ended in a shouting match between families who never had issues before. Jeremiah prayed harder, he fasted, he preached deliverance. But the people were changing. Distrust festered, offense grew, love faded. By year 5, the pews were empty again. One by one, families vanished. The choir disbanded. The tithe dropped to nothing. It was like the spirit of confusion had wrapped its hands around the church and squeezed the life out of it. Jeremiah questioned God. Night after night, he lay prostrate on the altar crying out, "Lord, what happened? I did everything you asked. Why did they leave us? What did I do wrong?" Danielle tried to keep the faith, but the miscarriage, the constant nightmares, the arguments, it was just too much. She packed a bag, and for 3 weeks, she left. Jeremiah was alone, pastoring an empty building, preaching to silence, fighting shadows with scripture. Until one night, the storm rolled in. Lightning struck the church sign. The power cut out. Jeremiah, standing in the pulpit alone, opened his Bible by candlelight, and then he heard a sound. Not thunder, a voice, not Danielle's, not his own, but a dark, mocking voice whispering through the walls. "You were never called. You are forgotten. Your God is silent." Jeremiah froze. His heart thundered. But then, he did something unexpected. He smiled. He raised his hand and declared, "I rebuke every demon assigned to this house. This is holy ground. I'm not afraid of the dark, because I walk in the light." In that moment, God moved, not with fire, but with truth. Jeremiah saw a vision clear as day. A circle of women, some still on the church roster. He saw their secret gatherings, their curses, their rituals. And he saw how they'd infiltrated the church to destroy the ministry from the inside out. But God wasn't done with him. No, this was only the pruning, the purification, the preparation. Danielle returned. She'd had a dream while away, of Jeremiah in white robes, warring with shadows and angels surrounding him. She knew then he was chosen. They were chosen. They returned to the church together. This time, not to fill pews, but to fight back. They began again. Not with programs, but with prayer. Not with promotions, but with power. They anointed every wall. They fasted for 40 days. And then people started coming. Not the old ones, but new ones. Broken people, delivered people. People God had been preparing behind the scenes. They came not for a show, but for the Spirit. And Living Waters Tabernacle was born again. Today, that same church is filled with hundreds of worshipers. People healed of cancer, addicts set free, marriages restored, and yes, those witches exposed, disbanded, gone. Jeremiah and Danielle now travel the country, teaching on spiritual warfare, inner healing, and discerning the unseen battles that destroy ministries. Their motto, "You can't kill what God called. You can't curse what God covered." When you answer God's call, you will face warfare, but victory belongs to the faithful. This is the story of a man who didn't run from the storm. He pastored through it. And because he did, God got the glory.